Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking with Mr. Jed here. He's known for being the creator of the Thundermans. It's a really popular series at Nickelodeon, and he's done so many things, like I think the Jemmy Neutron, Timmy Turner, Hour 2 and 3. And also he's done other Thunderman series such as, the Thunderman Undercover and the Thunderman's Return. So why not you say hi to the students?
Hey guys, good to meet you. Thanks for inviting me.
Nice to meet you too.
And I've done, I did all of Jimmy Neutron actually. I did all the Jimmy Neutrons.
Good to meet you too.
Oh, thank you, thank you for having me. I hope you guys, I did the Thundermans, and of course, and I did Jimmy Neutron, and I did. There's one other one that people know me for. What is it? Johnny Bravo is a cartoon I did a long time ago, and Big Time Rush. I don't know if you guys know that. That's a boy band, and they had a show for a little while. But the Thundermans, of course, is these guys, and I've been with them for. It's actually been like 12 years. And I actually didn't know people all over the world watched it until a few years ago. And then I learned it's in like the top 10. It's like a top 10 show in Germany and in Spain. And it's, in German, it's called Das Thundermans. And it's in like Poland. And then and then it's in Asia and in Africa and in the Middle East. So,
yeah.
But if you're not
a really good
familiar
fact
with it,
about it, the Thundermans in the Middle East, it's named Ailet Thunderman, which means the family of the Thundermans.
Okay, good. I was going to ask.
So,
that.
That's what it means.
Say it again.
Ailet Thunderman.
Ailet Thunderman. Okay.
Yeah.
So I created the show, and so some people say, "Wow," but they don't really know what that means. And what it means is I wrote the very first episode. I had a blank page in front of me, and I wrote the first episode, and so I had to invent everything. I had to invent the characters and the character names and their personalities, and of course, their superpowers. And that was like 14 years ago for me. Like, we didn't start making it until 2 years after that, because everything works very slowly in Hollywood. Everything has to get approved, and they have to raise money, and we have to cast it. But before I get to that, I'll just tell you like what was the path that led me to being even in television, because to some people it seems like a crazy dream. But I grew up in New York City, and I always loved TV, and I knew I wanted to write comedy from as far back as I remember. And it took me a while, but I knew that it was also in Los Angeles. Everything is in Los Angeles, that's where Hollywood is. And it took me a while to get brave enough to move there. So I think I was 29 before I moved there. And before that, I was just writing magazine articles and things like that. But when I moved there, I'd been writing like my own sample TV scripts before then. So when I moved there, I was able to like show people my scripts, and then you get an agent. And then the agent makes a lot of calls on your behalf because they know they're going to get 10% of your money if they find you a job. So I had a really good agent, and she found me a job pretty quickly, which is hard these days, but back then it was a little easier. And it was in a cartoon. It was called Pinky and the Brain. It was like two lab mice who wanted to take over the world. So I didn't come out to do cartoons, but it was still comedy writing, so I was happy. So I did that show, and then I did Johnny Bravo and Jimmy Neutron. And then after like 9 years of writing cartoons, which I thought I was just going to do the rest of my life, Nickelodeon asked if I wanted to do live action, which is when you use actual actors and cameras, and it's a much faster process because in cartoons it has to go to Korea and be drawn. And then you get it back, and you say, "Oh no, you missed this was supposed to say this, not this." And it's an 8-month process from when you write it to when it gets produced. But with live action, you just shoot it, and then you're done, pretty much. So I did this my first live action show was this Big Time Rush show, which is this boy band show. And then Nickelodeon said, okay, that's good. Do you want to create your own show? And I said, yeah, yes, please. And I came up with 19 ideas, and they were each one line long. I don't even remember what they were. I think one of them, the only other one I remember besides the Thundermans, was an average girl, a girl with average intelligence who's in a family full of geniuses. So her brother is like, does Bitcoin and, has a butler and won't let anyone in his room. And the mom is a violinist, and the dad is a brain surgeon, and he plays chess online with some Chinese genius. And that was almost the one that they chose, but they went with the Thundermans. And I'm like, oh, okay, crap. Now I have to figure out what the Thundermans actually is and what it's like on a day-to-day basis. So I
Wait, so
wrote
you
the
started
script.
the idea of the Thundermans, or did Nickelodeon,
No, it was one of those 19 ideas that I came up with, and
okay.
and they help a little bit. Like I think it was their idea actually to make it twins. We did an initial pilot, which you can see online. I'd rather you not, but there's one online where it's just Phoebe and it's not Max. She has a brother, but he's not a twin brother, and he's like a very kind of a goth guy. He's very like rock and roll, and kind of the angry kid who lives in the basement. And that was who Max originally was. But then Nickelodeon said, I don't know if that's working. Let's make it a twin brother and make him really funny as well. And then they have like this sort
Yeah,
of
and I can tell that character specifically. He's like kind of like this cool dude, Yeah.
right. So that's it's sort of like what it used to be, but he's more likable in this newer version with Max. So then we have to have auditions. So we literally saw like 100 people for each part.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you come up with with a lot of ideas? And you have 19 ideas. I can only come up with one. Very hard.
It is that might. I mean, everyone's good at a different thing, so that's probably the hardest thing for me. But if you just say to yourself, they only have to be one line long. Like they just have to be a nugget of an idea. You don't have to come up with the entire world. And so that made it a little bit easier because I could just sit at my desk and say, a family of monsters. I guess I knew I wanted to do a family show because that's what I used to watch a lot. And then if you do that, then you can say, oh, it's, a family of geniuses, but the girl star is average intelligence, or a family of superheroes, and they have to lead secret lives so that no one knows they're superheroes, or else they'll have to move. So I don't remember what the other ideas were, but yeah, that is also my most difficult part too, because you're like, oh, I'm never going to be able to. How am I going to write 100 episodes of that? A family who are weird. Like it's been done so many times. You have to find your little take
your
on it.
unique
That
style in it.
yeah, the unique thing that makes it yours and no one else's. And also, I'm sure it's only once you meet the actors, you choose the actors and you start writing, and then you probably do. I think I did 16 not first drafts. I did 16 drafts of the first episode, and like the characters were kind of different when I started, and then because I knew who the actors were and what they did well, then I was able to fix it and write it to their strengths. And but as the creator of the show, you're not even done yet. Then you have to hire all the people. You have to hire I don't know anything about cameramen and camera people and stuff, but I knew writers, so I hired writers who I thought would be funny and would be good for this particular project. And then you try to come up with as many. And then you sit around. That's the other thing about coming up with ideas. Whoever asked that, eventually we had, I think, a room full of 10 writers. And I have a picture of the writer's room if you want to see that. This is all the people who I had around to help me. That's the dad on the show.
Yeah, that's the dad.
Hank.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but everyone else in that room is a writer, and then in the background, that's a cardboard Max. But so it's much easier to write a show when you have 10 other people in the room helping you. But then there's different kinds of writers. There's staff writers that's sort of the lowest writer, and all they do is write. All they do is, like, you say, I need a joke about, how Phoebe is late and she's coming up with a really bad excuse for why she's late. And then they go off and they just like try to noodle on that joke. But then there's the producer writers, and those are sort of more, more experienced people. And they help me with, because eventually you're working on 8 scripts at the same time in different levels of completion. So somebody's coming up with story ideas, like maybe 2 or 3 people are doing story ideas. 2 or 3 people are actually off writing scripts. They're in their house just writing scripts on a deadline. And then 2 or 3 other people are on the stage shooting the show and making sure that everyone understands what the jokes mean and they're doing it correctly, and that there's and that and you're doing it out of order usually. So you're there to say, oh, he can't be in the background because he's supposed to be at the candy store. So that those are important people there. So there's me trying to like do as much as I have it kind of all in my head of what everyone should be doing and when their deadlines are. And but then I have people helping me with there's even steps in between before it goes to the shooting stage, like a table read. That's when you gather around a table with the actors and they're reading the script for the first time, and you're seeing what jokes work and what jokes don't work, and then you go back and you do rewrites. So it's a really involved process. Like what you're seeing on TV is not just that probably took, by the time it got shot, what you're seeing was in various stages of evolution for probably 6 weeks before it got to that stage. And then even once you're done shooting it, you then have to do the editing, because it's usually like 7 minutes long. And there's lots of different camera angles that you have to choose from, which you think are maybe the most effective ones. And then some composer writes the music. There's not a lot of music on our show, but there's some. And you have to say, oh no, our guy is really good, but you have to tell him, oh no, that's kind of sad music. We need this to be kind of a silly music. And then the most important thing for some people is the special effects, and that's where you guys might have more interest, because it's technologically very technical. I don't know much about it. I don't do the effects, but it's very, the original show's special effects were pretty basic. But the where it got more complicated, and especially in this last movie that we just made, which hasn't come out yet, it's at the end of summer. We spent tons of money on special effects, because now there's all these Marvel movies and stuff. And if you come out with lousy special effects, people are going to call you on it. This is like from 20 years ago. So it has to look really good. So some of these special effects are very easy to do, and I know how to do those. So like with like Phoebe and Max's telekinesis. So if they're like, oh, I want that potato chip bag over there, and with their telekinesis, they can just do this, and it flies into their hand. So the way we do that is they're holding the bag at the beginning of the shot, and you have a guy somewhere off that way who you can't see on screen, and there's a very thin line of we call it mono, because it's monofilament. It's a very thin string that you can't even see because it's so thin, and that guy just pulls it, and it comes out of Max's hand or out of Phoebe's hand, and then you just reverse the shot so it looks like it's going into her hand or his hand. So that's an easy one. Then there's Nora's lasers and Mom's electricity. They just do this, Nora does this and nothing comes out. But later in post-production, they put in a laser, or they put in Mom's lightning out of her hand. And those guys are in the CG, that's the computer-generated imagery, the CGI guys. They're all in I think they're in Mexico City, so they're not even in the United States.
Yeah.
And then Billy's Super Speed. He actually does everything in slow motion. I don't know why he has to do it in slow motion, but I guess because he has to make his movements very slow and
Yeah,
deliberate.
and
And
that way
so,
they can just make it faster, just by
yeah,
editing doing
exactly.
those visual effects.
Right.
By the
And
way, like there's so many people from
yeah,
around the world, other than Mexico. Like there's so many countries from around the world. They're good at, freelancing and, editing and stuff like that. Especially YouTubers, YouTubers, they mainly use people to make them work remotely, totally online. They just,
yeah.
yeah,
It's amazing how spread out this show is now compared to what it used to be. When we first started, everyone was in Hollywood,
yeah,
and Hollywood is this magical word. But now it's not so magical anymore because by the movie we just wrote, even the writers, two of them were on the East Coast. The rest were in their houses when doing. It was called a Zoom room, and we just wrote as a group, but everyone was on screen. And yeah, the editors somewhere else, and the special effects guys were in Mexico. I don't know if we ever went farther away than Mexico, but I'm
yeah,
sure. Yeah, these days it's not centralized anymore, and so that's a problem for Los Angeles, because Los Angeles used to be the
yeah. It used
hub.
to be the hub for movies, and yeah,
Yeah, and now it's like so many people are out of work, which in a way is cool, because it's like people from all over the world are getting
yeah,
their chance to do show business. So a lot of new perspectives are coming in, which is nice.
yeah.
Um,
So one question that there was one student was asked, but unfortunately he didn't manage to come to the meeting, maybe because he had a problem with his internet connection. But one of the
okay.
questions were like, what inspired you to create the Thundermans? Like, did you like superheroes when you were a kid, and maybe you thought, why not I create a
Right.
superhero
That's a
family?
great question.
Yeah,
I love that question because it's a weird answer, which is no. I was not a superhero guy. I was not. I didn't read Batman comics, and I didn't. And in a way, I think that's better for this show, because if you have someone who's really into superpowers and superheroes, they should work on a show that's all about that. And I always have felt that this show is mostly about family, and then the superhero stuff is sort of just there for comedy and for color and seasoning. And like if you're making a meal, it's just like the stuff that gives it a little flavor. But the most important thing for me is that we get the family stuff right. And so I had a family, so I know how families work. And but no, I never. It's interesting because I've done more than one superhero show, so there's something about it, I guess, that is fun for me. But I don't get bogged down in the lore, in the like, well, you can't do that because Superman did that, and you can't have a kryptonite type substance, because they'll never come back to full strength. Like I don't worry about rules, superhero rules, so that gives me a little bit more freedom. But that's a good question. I've done superhero shows, and I've done talking animal shows, but I'm not sure why. Maybe that's just what a lot of shows are.
yeah. And one really shocking thing, since I know you're pretty shocked, but Nickelodeon is really huge. It's not just in US, it's like a worldwide, channel that so many people from around the world watch. They even have Nickelodeon channels in Europe. They even have ones in the Middle East. It's even called the Nickelodeon MENA, which stands for, Nickelodeon Middle East and North Africa, and so
Oh
many other
wow!
places around the world. So,
Yeah, I
yeah, and
noticed
one of the shows that
that.
get aired, is the Thundermans.
I love that. I know that Jack and Kira, who are Jack Griffo and Kira Cosseran, they go do the Kids' Choice Awards, um, which is that orange blimp I have over
Yeah,
there. And here, and and we won this in, I think, 2000 and, I don't know, 20 for best show. So that was fun. But they go and do the award shows, and they host them, and it's a big deal. And yeah, it always seems like they're flying someplace international, but you're right. I did not know it until when I was writing Jimmy Neutron, which was my first Nickelodeon show. I thought, oh, Nickelodeon is this little American channel that 6-year-olds watch, and then it turns out to be this global thing, and it's not even little kids. But so I don't know. It's doable. Like when I was your guys' age, I did not think I could ever be in show business, and I was already in New York, so which is sort of very media. That's a media capital right there. But now, if you can be anywhere and invent a show on YouTube or put stuff on the internet on your own channel, and people will see it, and if it's good and if it's new and imaginative, and it'll get eyeballs. And if you're good at special effects or AI, then you can really do stuff, because that's the other thing that people are afraid of here. AI is like everybody's afraid it's going to steal their jobs, because right now you can do.
That's what I was talking with the students. We were talking in the club about how AI affects so many things. By the way, Majid has a question. You can open your mic.
Yeah. Imagine.
Is it right that you won multiple Emmy Awards?
Yes, in fact, there they are. Can you see the 3 Emmys there?
It's 3 wins.
On my piano. 3. They're not for the Thundermans. The Thundermans gets no respect from the awards people. Theirs are actually for cartoons that I wrote. So 2
but gets respect in Nickelodeon, though.
Yeah. And we get
when did you take these awards?
So those ones are for one of them is for what was Jimmy Neutron. One of them is for Jimmy Neutron, and then 2 of them are for a show I didn't mention yet called Back at the Barnyard, which I don't know if that's international or not, but it's like talking farm animals, and it's like, what are the animals talking about when no one's listening to them, and 2 of them are for that. I don't. That's the show that I've read. That no one's heard
of. I heard that you did Big Time Rush and Back at the Barnyard and The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron.
That is correct. Those are the big ones.
These are the 3? And the Thundermans.
Yeah.
Return and Undercover.
Right. Undercover is an interesting one because it was a spin-off. We started when the Max and Phoebe characters were, I think when we hired them or when we cast them, they were 14 years old. You want to guess how old they are now? 27 and 28. So luckily they still look really young, but we can't do the spin-off that we did, which was the Thundermans Undercover. We couldn't even make them a family anymore because there's not a lot of 27 and 28-year-olds who live with their mom and dad. So we just made it a show about Max and Phoebe go to this town and they take the little girl, Chloe, with them because she's only 13. So that makes it more of a, that keeps it more of a show that maybe kids will watch also. And the parents weren't even in it very much because they're older too. So I'm so lucky that I never thought as a person who did a family show that 12 years later I could still be working with the same actors who are all not kids anymore. But we just did another movie, and that movie is called Clash of the Thundermans, and I'll give you a little secret about what it's about, even though I'm not supposed to tell. It's that Chloe, so she's the 13-year-old girl, she gets this amazing new power, and then the family, one half of the family thinks that they should send her away to a special place that teaches her how to learn it because it's dangerous. And the other half of the family says, no, we'll train her at home. And they have a giant fight, and they even have like a physical fight. It turns into like a powers fight at some point. And so the movie is about that. It's like it's something that we've never seen from the Thundermans, where they actually like get so mad at each other that they have a fight about it and use their. It's a full battle with powers and everything. So that's airing in end of summer, and I'm sure you won't be able to escape all the commercials for it if you turn on your television.
Okay. So Yassine and Majid have two questions. Okay, you can go ahead, Majid.
Yeah.
Yassine.
Uh, I have a question. I was wanting to ask.
Uh,
They say rumors that upcoming Clash of Thundermans 2026. That was what you're talking about.
Yes, that's the movie. So it's a hour and a half, and it's full of special effects, and they have their flying car in this one, and they go to a farm, and that's where they have their big battle as a family, and that's why it's called Clash of the Thundermans, because they split up. Three think one thing, and the other three think the other thing, and Chloe is stuck in the middle, and then there's also a girl. I don't know if you have a show called Modern Family, if you ever see that show in Saudi Arabia, but there's a special guest star who's from the show Modern Family, and she's pretty famous here, so she's in it. And yeah, we finished it. We shot it in Canada in August of last year, and we just finished it. That's how long it takes to like put the music on and do the special effects. Special effects were the big thing because this has a ton of them. And yeah, that'll air. They keep changing the date, but I think it's end of summer now.
Did you participate in it?
Oh yeah, I wrote it, and yeah, I did everything that I always do with the Thundermans. I wrote it, and I hired the actors, not the family actors, because they're the usual guys that we use, but everyone else. And I went up to Canada, and I just made sure that the director was getting things the way we intended them. And then I gave a big thing when you're a producer is you give notes. It's called you give. Do you have any notes? And I'm like, yes, I have notes. I always have notes. So it's like this music is too happy, or this special effect was supposed to be huge, not tiny like this. And also we have like 8 takes of everything. Takes are like they'll do a scene 8 different times, and each time it'll be slightly different because the actors are doing a slightly different thing, making slightly different choices. And then so I'm the one who has to go in and say, yeah, let's use that take. And I sit down with an editor in a dark room, and we have the picture on the screen, and I say, yeah, that's not a great take. Let's use the one where Max said this line really funny. And so, yeah, even once you're done shooting it, it's like 4 more months of work that you have to do. But it turned out so good. I'm so excited for people to see it.
Okay, yes, and you can go, Yassine. You can go ahead. Your mic is muted.
okay. I have two questions. The first one is, what do you think makes a good writer? Second is, what do you think about fully AI generated art? Do you think the people generating it are artists, or I mean, writers, or something else?
That's a big question. Well, the first one, what makes a good writer? I think it's that you have to first of all, you have to have some experience, and by that I just mean you have to write what you know. So I don't know anything about superheroes because I don't know any superheroes, but I do know about families because I grew up in one, and I know about having brothers. I don't have any sisters, but I had 2 brothers, and I and I and I love to write, and I think I would be writing even if I never got into television, because even before that I was writing for magazines, and I was writing plays and things. So I think if you're a writer, you know you're a writer, and then it's just you have to choose um, the best type of thing you want to write, whether it's a play or a comedy or a drama or a TV show or a movie. I'm more comfortable in shorter things, so like half-hour comedies were perfect for me. So that's what I always knew I wanted to try, and I just wrote a bunch of them to see if I could do it, and they're all in the garbage, but at least it gave me the practice. But everyone has a different process of how they got to be a writer. And then as for AI, yeah, it's pretty scary. Like at the moment, I can still tell. I think when something is AI, you guys can probably really tell because you probably know how
Yeah,
like
those
actually,
deep fakes. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably know why it's different. I don't know the technology of it, but you probably are like, oh yeah, they didn't use enough pixels, or I don't know, whatever it is. I can still tell usually when something is AI, but I bet you in 2 years you won't be able to tell. You'll be able to put my face on Muhammad's body, and you would never know that it was like put together like that. So it's scary. Like even the actors out here are scared that they're not going to be necessary someday, because you can just invent a human that looks
Yeah.
human, and you can do voices. You can. I mean, when I read the newspaper now, I don't read it. I just listen to a reader, and at the beginning, it usually says the person speaking is a. They don't say AI or artificial, but they say it's they basically say it's not a human. And then I listened to the whole article, and I'm like, how is that not a human? How are they? Why does it sound so real if it's not real? And I guess they
Yeah.
just take bits and pieces of actual human voice and make it work somehow.
Yeah, and that same goes for especially editors. Maybe AI can create visual effects, especially if you're making a video and stuff like that.
Yeah, but so I don't know how that's going to end. Like at some point, maybe even writers will not be necessary. I feel like my hopeful take is that for me personally, AI can't write a joke yet, because a joke is based on surprise a little bit, and so if so like for example, if Phoebe is giving this sort of speech about, I'm so sorry, I wish we hadn't done this, but will you ever forgive me? And then Max says, you have spinach between your teeth. Like I don't know if an AI would be able to come up with that, because it's a surprise. It's
Yeah, it's
not
like kind of like a
something.
surprise. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's not the logical next
yeah.
step. So I don't know if AI has figured out how to do that yet, but it probably will. Hopefully, I'll be retired by then, and it won't take my
Okay,
job away.
Majid, what do you want to
But
say?
my main question was, um, if the people that use AI, do you call them writers? Do you call them, or what do you call them exactly?
I would say, right. I get the question. Are they artists, or are they? Do I think of them as robots? I think right now, for writers for AI, I've never seen any good AI writing. I think that that's something AI can't do well yet. So if I read something from AI, it'll sound a little bit weird and not quite right. But for voices, I think AI is uh, it sounds extremely real. So I don't know if I'd call it. I guess I wouldn't call it art, because it's not. It's just pieces of things that other people have
Yes, it's
done,
not
and
creative.
then
Yeah.
right. And then it's combined. So I don't know. I mean, that's a big philosophical question. What do you think, Majed?
Okay, Majid, you can open your mic. Um,
I think that AI is evolving so fast, and humans will regret creating it and upgrading it.
Yeah, yeah. And yet, I don't think, like, people here. We went on strike recently. The writers went on strike, and one of the things that we were arguing for was no AI writers. And you can say that all you want and make a rule about it, but AI is happening whether we like it or not. And I don't think that a rule is going to stop it. So I guess the question is it going to be a helpful tool, or is it going to take over? And I'm not sure yet. Like I could use AI as a helpful tool. I could say, oh, give me 15 ways that I could, here's a situation. Give me 10 ways that it can get resolved, or 10 ways of what the next step might be in the story. And then the AI will give me 10 things. And maybe none of them will be good, but I'll say, oh, that gives me an idea. Thank you, AI. So that would be a helpful tool. but the unhelpful the way if AI can turn into a monster is if AI says, "Sorry, we don't need you anymore. We'll just come up with all the ideas because we're robots and we have all information
Yeah.
available to us." Yeah,
So yeah,
it's scary, but it's also interesting. I'm curious to
yeah,
see
like we
which
can
way it
simply
works.
say that you can use an AI as a tool, but not as something to as a not like you just can't make it create something. Like you could just
Right.
make it help you maybe or use it as a tool. That would be the right
Yep.
way to use it.
Like, how do you write realistic dialogue? Make it sound
I'm
like real people are talking.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think I do? I think that maybe I write. I'm not sure if you walked into somebody's living room if they would actually talk like the way I have them talk in the Thundermans. It would sound a little bit more like people interrupting each other and or long periods of silence. So I think when you watch TV, it's slightly artificial because it's not really how people talk. But but if I do that, then well, thank you. That's a nice compliment. And I guess it's because I talk all day with people, and I notice. I think in a way, if you're a writer, you kind of write what you're saying as you're saying it, and I guess we all do that to some extent, so that it'll come out and make sense and be clear. But I'm very like hyper vigilant about the words that I'm using at all times because I love being clear. And so I think I've just, when it's time to write, I do the same thing. I just am hopefully writing in a way that's very clear, but I'm also giving it a little bit of a joke or sarcasm or an interesting way, because everyone has a slightly different way that they talk and a slightly different. Some people are very jokey, some people are very dry and serious, and so when you choose your characters, you just have to stick to that character. So Max is always, like you said, Mohammed, he's the cool guy and he's very sarcastic. And then Phoebe is a little more innocent, and then Billy is the dumb one. So so when it's time to write each person's line, you have to keep that in mind. You're like, oh, Billy. There's actually, it's funny, in Clash of the Thundermans, there's only one line that Billy says that isn't dumb, and it strikes me as odd because it's like that doesn't sound like something Billy would say because it's not dumb. And I noticed that, and I told everyone that, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're right."
Yeah. So I have one last question. This would be the last question, and that will be enough for today.
Okay.
So basically, our Thundermans has been really great, and like I said before, there's so many international fans and audience. They're watching from around the world. Um, are you planning to make Thundermans more adventurous, like maybe make a movie or a new series, or continue making the Undercover maybe, but this time, in a more international way, like maybe in an international place outside the U.S. maybe, or even if you think making a movie outside the U.S. would be expensive, you can maybe make a meetup, let's say, for the fans worldwide. So, are you planning for that
Right,
to
right.
make that adventure?
Um, I mean, I would do the Thundermans the rest of my life if they let me, but someone has to say, yes, we will give you money to make more Thundermans. So,
Yeah,
so you always have to give them your idea first, and then they'll say, yeah, I think, okay, that seems like worthwhile for us to do. So, yeah, I think that's probably the next step. We've done everything else. So now maybe it's time they go to, I think the farthest they've ever gone is to Hawaii. So I think maybe it's time for them to go somewhere really new and special
yeah,
that no one has ever seen before. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to
yeah.
say they should go to Alexandria, Egypt. I haven't forgotten. I will pitch that at the next big Thundermans meeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the next step. They go to the Arctic or they go to Egypt or yeah, that's what. Now that I know there are so many international fans, I think that we have to do that.
Yeah. So thank you again. Thank you so much for um, being a part of this meeting and talking with the students. And yeah, I wish you have a good day. and I hope the Thundermans can continue to become the better and more worldwide kind of thing.
That would be great. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks for inviting me, and you had some really smart questions, and thanks for being fans. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. You can guys say bye to
Meet you too.
Mr. Jed.
Bye, Majed. Bye,
Good to meet you.
Yassine. Okay,
Bye.
take care, guys.